Welcome everybody to our first ever monthly live update AMA, and I'm very excited to introduce to you all our co-founders, Robin Lehmann and Dr. Mark Siebert, who are both joining me today to be able to help us go on this journey, all of us together. If you have any questions at any point in time, even if you're watching this as a replay, please don't hesitate, leave a comment down below. We will answer every question as best we can. And if not, alternatively, you will find a link to our Discord channel down below as well. And you can jump straight into the community where Robin, Mark, and myself will be there to answer any questions and do our best. Today, we're going to break this down into a couple of different sections. We're going to start off with a very simple introduction for those people who are coming new or have just found this video. I think this is going to be a great opportunity for Robin to give you a little bit of insight into who we are and what it is that we want to do at DataUnion. And then after that, we're going to give you some updates about what's been happening so far this year, as well as going into some of the really cool stuff that we're working on at the moment, that we're focused on, and give you a little bit of an update on what happened when we took part in a hackathon very recently. So without further ado, let me bring on Robin. Robin, thank you very, very much for hosting this today and for giving everyone in the community a chance to talk with us. Can you give us a little bit of an introduction for those who are just jumping in and finding the channel for the first time?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. So, DataUnion was founded around 1.5 years ago, and it was born after the ocean marketplace has been created. And the idea is to not have only single entities offer data, but to create an ecosystem where multiple people can come together, multiple entities, companies, DAOs, or whoever wants to collaborate on their data projects, and then help them to make the best out of that, to be able to collect the data using our tech stack, to not reinvent the wheel there, to be able to leverage our mobile app, our data portal, and all the tools that we are developing, and then use this data to make it, and the process to make it AI ready, to create insights on top of it, and then sell those and share the value amongst everybody that has participated in the value creation process.
Fantastic. Veritably going down the Web3 mentality of democratizing and sharing the value creation process, which I think is fantastic. Mark, I'll give you a chance to maybe give us a little bit of an update on your side for what's been going on in the ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And well, the ecosystem has been very active, and there are a lot of projects and initiatives and people trying to build or derive data value from data and creating new data unions, collaborating around the data. So we see a lot of projects happening in the health area, for instance, or using sensor data or personal data, especially sensitive data that can't be just directly connected to algorithms, but require the collaboration and the governance from people and communities around it. And we're also embracing mission and purpose-driven fields like sustainability that are prone to collect the data value, not just for the community, but also for the nature itself, for instance.
Fantastic. And as part of this, there is a lot going on behind the scenes, stuff that a lot of people maybe haven't quite got to know about. I feel like one of the lucky few being inside rather than in front of the curtain, as it were. But we are in the process of running a funding round, and we're raising money at the moment currently. Would you guys like to talk a little bit about that and explain to everyone what we're currently in the process of doing?
Yeah, so a little bit of insight about that from my side. So yeah, we've been participating a lot in grants processes in the past, especially working a lot with the Ocean DAO. Recently, we then went through the Outlier Venture Accelerator Program and the Cello Basecamp. And this opened up the opportunity for us to get connected to venture capital. And we took a shortcut here, starting our seed round, collecting money in this way, which helps us to sustain ourselves for a long time. So that's really helpful for us. We can really take a breather here a bit and induce this money. And things are going quite well in this direction. So we have already collected a lot of money, and we're looking forward to be able to sustain for this year and after that too, and to really build out our products and being able to use this financial means for good things.
Fantastic. So we will have more information on the raise as soon as it has been completed, the round, and once we can share all the details with everyone very soon. Mark, if I can, I'd like to bring you back to the ecosystem as a whole, because we have been talking with lots of new partners, lots of new companies, lots of new potential DataUnion ideas. I was wondering if you could share any examples in particular that we've been working with recently.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the interest for data unions comes from various fields. I think one field where we see a strong activity is the health area. There are different levels and different types of data that people are using. So that starts from the patient data, which is quite sensitive data, and people are looking for ways to connect to established health data systems. There are patient data in a way that is images. They are less sensitive, but will be used for medical device training, for instance, but also other related fitness data. You can imagine from the medical devices that are now very available in various ways, but hold a lot of insights from a personal point of view. So there are various types of data that come together, and people are looking for responsible ways to treat it, and yet being able to leverage it for AI or other analytics.
And this probably brings us remarkably nicely into the Sovereign Nature Initiative Hackathon that we recently took part in. So which one of you would like to start by explaining what it was that we decided to get involved in and what actually happened?
Well, I can say just a quick introduction, and maybe Robin can go a bit more in detail there. I think, like the health topic is a topic of societal impact, so equally is the topic of sustainability and environment and the nature. So we've been approached and have been in touch with partners that are looking for ways to give nature a say in the field of data and the data that nature provides for analytics, and a way to participate in the value created from all this analytics and data. So the idea, and I think the name of the hackathon and the foundation that was organizing it, Sovereign Nature, speaks for it to give a own identity to nature. And we were looking at what happens if a tree, for instance, or certain entities in nature have an own sovereign role and identity to play, provide their data, but can be part of a value share community there and earn back. And imagine a tree that then can buy water, love, or care from that money, and basically close the loop from providing own data and its impact to the communities, but earning back in the same way. So basically closing the loop from nature to nature. So that was, I guess, the starting point where we could illustrate how a data union along the way can help facilitate not just nature in the game, but everybody who contributes along the way, from the validators and other partners, bringing the value into that union.
Fantastic. And we did have a couple of partners in particular when we went into this hackathon. I think we ended up with more partners by the time we left, which is a fantastic sign of collaboration. But could you talk a little bit about the partners that we started with?
Yeah, sure. So we were specifically looking at projects of reforestation in Africa. And there are initiatives that provide youth the opportunity to participate in impact projects and have an educational benefit from doing so in, for instance, annotating images or in flying drones to actually take pictures of forests and see whether the trees and the forests are growing and capturing carbon dioxide. And we partnered with a project that is supported by UNICEF. It's called YOMA. And some of their partners, NUASA, a team that span out of in Malawi, out of their drone academy. And it was exciting to see their insights of the local communities, how to capture the insights, not only from drones, but also engaging the local community and capturing the growth of trees and see if they are still alive and analyzing that. And as you say, during the hackathon, it was a great opportunity, and the groups and other projects that the Sovereign Nature Initiative brought together to partner up on the gaming side, for instance, and see related activities that unfold now, even after the hackathon, and inspired further ideas that we're taking on and developing that concept and prototypes further.
Fantastic. And I think, Robin, I'm going to turn to you to help explain our overarching idea, but more importantly, maybe getting into some of the details of how we see this sovereign nature initiative, NatureUnion of ours, working.
Yeah, so it's actually really fascinating engaging more and more with the other teams in this hackathon, and also the overall ecosystem around it. I discovered that there's basically hundreds of projects now, especially a lot of DAOs that are going in the direction and working on this problem. And yeah, one thing that we can help them with is like our technology. So like the tech stack that I was talking about earlier for data unions, this is a really useful tool. So we are now constantly trying to engage with more and more of them, and we're inviting everybody to join us to come along and basically use what we've been building for the past 1.5 years and to leverage that. And so here we can facilitate things like connecting sensors or any kind of data into a kind of database where we can measure who contributed what, how much of what was given by somebody. In the end, then visualize all of this in a data portal so that everybody around the world can start using it, so they can start to make analysis and insights on all of this data. And of course, the more data there is, the better these insights will also be. And yeah, in the end, because we tracked everything where it came from, we can give the value back to everybody. So like we can give out, like the kind of the citations, and we can make leaderboards. We can show, okay, this is where this important information comes from. I mean, the same is true for many other data types, but here we have something that really has a global impact, which will benefit everybody if it starts happening. So even large research institutes could be connected in this way. So like this Ocean Protocol and our tech stack on top of that doesn't really stop with, it doesn't have to be an individual. It can also be a very large organization. So like satellite companies that have data from all around the world can be directly connected with like individuals that are flying drones in Africa. So like all of this can come together in one large data set and can be analyzed and used. So I think that's really fascinating. And I hope that we can connect or bring in more and more projects, because then it becomes really good. The more they are together, the stronger it becomes.
Well, I think it's definitely safe to say that the sum of the parts is definitely more effective when we all come together and collaborate. But a really quick one, if you can, Robin, can you talk a little bit about how that shared value actually works? In theory, it's fantastic to talk about, but in practice, how would that work within a data union?
So, I mean, here we're leveraging Ocean Protocol technology very much. So like you have a data, let's say you have an insight trained, let's make an example around estimating how much carbon is stored in a tree. So somebody has a new image from a satellite that is basically that they want to identify how much carbon is stored in there. So they feed this into the system. This is basically using an insight that was trained on a lot of data from other satellite companies, potentially also then from people on the ground, from drone flights. So we know that all of this data was involved in training this algorithm. And basically, we can now take the amount of value that comes in and distribute it accordingly to the share that everybody contributed. So this can be a large number of people, and also the scientists that created this algorithm, the insight itself, and then the whole system basically gets the value. And if you think about it, satellite is flying around the Earth and seeing a lot of trees all the time. And if you want to continuously monitor something like this, of course, you will be distributing a lot of value. And so, yeah, but in principle, it's a scalable system that can just work continuously.
Fantastic. And that actually brings us to our last part as well, to do with the Sovereign Nature Initiative Hackathon, is that we really enjoyed the collaborative side. And I can definitely say that for me, it was my first time spending any kind of substantial amount of time inside a metaverse whilst also collaborating on a hackathon. So it was a great experience. And thanks to the guys at Odyssey for making that happen. But we've also decided to take a new stance and a new look at how we actually share our information and how we share content around events like that. And I think this is something that's really important. And Mark, if it's okay with you, I'm going to say a few words and then jump over to you for your input. But from my point of view, what I noticed about when we collaborated with everyone together at the hackathon, everyone had a say, everyone had a chance to help us build what that potential could actually be. And what I realized from that is when we're also creating content, we're doing something that's very similar in the old ways of doing things. And I've been a marketer for too many years now to mention, let's be honest, but we've always worked on the basis of publishing things for other people to actually read. And what we've tried to do now with this first iteration and an invitation to collaborate is to create something that's exactly that. It's an interactive piece of content that's all about collaboration. And we're looking for everybody to have a look at this, to be able to actually get involved, to leave comments and to really talk about it. Mark, what was so important when it comes to, from your point of view, as to why we decided to kind of go down this route?
Yeah, I think it speaks a bit to the Web3 idea of decentralization and the idea of DAOs, that it's not a central entity who has the knowledge. It's the crowd who actually holds the knowledge. And the question is, how can we activate that best? And we think inviting everybody in the community, everybody who is called by the idea, the vision, to contribute and co-create it. So basically living the creator's economy. And I think data unions are a great place to do so. So it's not just kind of to collaborate, but also then become a member of this value share community and keep a commitment and a foot in the door in the union, in the content that has been created together. And nobody knows all the outcomes. We're innovating a lot. We're exploring and experimenting with different approaches. So every contribution counts. And as we do in our pilot projects, some contribute, some other validate or comment and annotate. And all of that creates that dynamic that actually drives faster and makes the knowledge even richer.
I think that brings us perfectly onto the idea of what we're focusing on next. So I think we're going to turn to Robin now. Would you like to give us a quick update about our first proof of concept, our first union, as it were, which is the Planet Computer Vision?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we're now heavily developing this further and further, which is really interesting. I mean, we are close to the 1-year mark of our alpha release last year. And still, of course, there's lots of things to do. From my point of view, this was a huge success. We had hundreds of people working with us there, but we have not even been able to distribute rewards. So that's kind of very high on our priority list. Ocean Protocol is moving towards version 4 of their smart contracts. We're basically also waiting for that. So this makes then our moving the pool that we have created so far very easy to another blockchain. That's then also reasonable to distribute rewards. That's something very, very high on our list. Also, our new version of our mobile app that you might have already seen in our YouTube channel is also getting finished more and more. So like there's now, we're getting closer to also going into an alpha test stage there. We have connected with several labeling companies around the planet, which are interested in alpha testing this with us. So we are looking forward to this. And then, of course, our data portal. So there you can then explore our data. You can then upload and train algorithms. And we have come up with some exciting use cases that I also will be touching on a bit. So like here, generative art is something that we're seeing as a first use case where people that can actively manipulate the inputs to train such a model, to manipulate the model to make specific or like kind of a comical art out of this, and then basically directly convert it into NFTs. And here we again have our value sharing mechanism. So the people who have been contributing data to our Planet Computer Vision will then be able to also gain a share of what has been created. So we hope that this will be a great use case also in the direction of data farming on Ocean Protocol, because people can directly then mint the NFTs, the generative art on our data portal. And we hope that this is something that really makes a difference also for Ocean Protocol and the data throughput that can be created there. So lots of things coming up.
Should I be as brave as to ask you what bit you're most excited about?
So at the moment, I'm really excited about the data portal, to be honest. And also then about really for me, it's also a challenge, to then bring the people on to modify the platform that we basically iterate with people. So I've been connecting on Twitter with a community of digital artists now that has been kind of forming itself since there is this DALI model from OpenAI. So since you can combine speech and image generation together, and I'm looking forward how we can bring them on board to have them explain their tricks and explain their prompts and the logic behind how these kind of models work to a broader community and make this mainstream, so that you don't have to have your fat NVIDIA GPU at home anymore, but you can directly participate in this new world of creative expressions.
Fantastic. Mark, shall I ask you the same question? What are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, I think the mobile app is an exciting tool and opportunity where we see already a lot of interest to capture content, whether it's images or other data, to annotate it and verify it. So it's a process that allows people to trace the origins of data, the provenance of it, and to basically show the journey that data takes, to also illustrate whether it's been done in a responsible way or ethical way. So that is relevant in a lot of fields and being demanded more and more by policymakers. So we're contributing there very much through those tools to making AI more responsible. And the mobile app, it's just fun to work with. It's something you can, if you have a spare minute somewhere on the train, or you can quickly work with it, earn some points with it, and I think that's a great pleasure, and holds also a lot of opportunities for partners in the gamification area, and it's a great window into the unions.
Well, the mobile app would seem to me to be the portal that really opens a huge potential marketplace of contributors, right? People from around the world, access to a mobile now is pretty predominant, and the ability to contribute towards these data unions is a really important factor. Robin, I know for a fact that you've also been looking at how we can use various different ways of neurolinguistic programming kind of techniques to be able to have multi-language annotation and verification of images, for example, or data sets. Would you be able to talk a little bit about that and how this app could really open up in future for the global market for people to be able to contribute?
Yeah, so of course, right now in our first prototype, you had to always type what you do, what you want to talk about in an image, what's in it, and to verify it. If somebody makes a spelling mistake, you have to correct that. In the future, we will then have a feature where you just talk to the phone. So basically you then listen also to what other people in your language, the one that you selected, basically said about images. And this creates a very new kind of data set. So that's something I actually don't know about in the science communities anywhere. So basically connecting hundreds, probably thousands of people talking about the same image and also describing it in their own way. So if I talk about an image, it's probably very different than if you talk about the same image, Chris, to explain what's in it. And basically this is now then giving also an opportunity for a new data set for researchers to see, okay, how can we make AI, that now learns, okay, well, they're actually talking about the same thing, right? So it should basically learn from that. And that's something where we can also then make missions from our data portal and ask people to, okay, talk about these images, give me some input in this direction. And that, I think that's going to open up a new field of AI. So I don't actually know too much where people are doing this. And then, of course, we will see from there how it continues. But that's something I'm really looking forward to. And on the back end, of course, people can then still write about it, and then we have like written, spoken, image, everything, in one data set. And then, of course, it becomes even more powerful, because then somehow it covers a lot of what is actually happening around the world. If you look at the social media platforms, what they are doing today, they are always guessing what's in the images and what the people are describing about them, but then we can really ask the people to do this much more distinctly, and also to verify that it's true. And I think that will give our data set a very distinct advantage over other ones that are created around the world.
Well, hopefully it will make for a more inclusive representation of that data set as well, which is something that I think Mark feels very strongly, as do Robin and myself, in terms of the future of AI has to be done with this idea of inclusivity and responsibility in mind. And Mark, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and how we see that as being something that's really key to what we're trying to build.
Yeah, certainly. And I think training AI and data has been there for a while now, and there are big data sets. We talk about big data to enable and train that. But we also see kind of the missing pieces of that, so that recommendations are a bit biased because they are just as good as the training data. There are new aspects of data-driven AI that puts more emphasis on the training data rather than the algorithm itself or the model itself. And we see the challenge around the so-called long tail of AI. So basically all the specific cases that make the data set maybe less biased, more equally distributed. And so that's a key opportunity here with leveraging the crowd, working in a union, and basically bringing the people back into the loop rather than just connecting a data with a model and leaving that on its own. So there's still a lot of perspectives to be handled, supporting the governance around it to really make it inclusive and responsible.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's everything that we wanted to cover today. And we know that this is the very first time that we've done a monthly update live AMA, but there was a couple of things that I actually asked more than anything else when I first got to meet you guys and got to get involved with this project. And I actually think that they're remarkably useful questions for anybody who's just coming along and that's just finding this as the first time they're introduced to this. But I want to ask the question, and I'm going to ask Robin to try and answer this in this most simplistic form possible. But what is a data union?
Okay, it's a collaborative of data providers that work together to create value out of the data by making it AI ready, and then getting that leveraged by AI and distributing the value back to everyone involved.
So it's the idea of the shared ownership, as it were, of coming together and being able to collaborate together to make something that's more valuable, with everyone doing it as a whole rather than everyone doing it individually.
Yeah, I mean, the value sharing is very important. In the end, who owns the data is still not very defined yet. Like probably everybody will still own it on their own, but that they can really share what's coming out of it. Very opposite to how it is in Google and Facebook. Like their stakeholder get something out of you using Facebook. It's not you. Okay, you get the platform, but yeah, that's it. I mean, there's billions per year that are made because of this, so I think it's just fair that we give something back to you too, who's providing the data.
Very good. And I think that there's always a question that comes up, and it comes up again and again, not just for ourselves, but I think probably for everybody that's within this industry in some way, shape, or form. But why do you need to use blockchain technology? A question that gets asked all over the globe for all sorts of different projects.
And maybe I can take this one too. So in the end, if we want to really bring people on board all around the world, like it's very difficult. Many of them don't have bank accounts. Many of them don't have laptops. Many of them are in very unfortunate situations, not like the people in Europe. So if we really want to connect to them, we have to use blockchain technology. There's no way that we can provide the value back to them, that we can connect them to such a global system. without using blockchain technology. So this is one of the key important facts. And the other ones are also, of course, if we want to trace these kind of contributions, if we want to make sure that this is later in a very long term, that is really sustainable and standing on its own, it's very, very important that nobody in the end has like the control over it, alone. So like going into a decentralized way, making this a decentralized project that is a DAO that's running on its own. This is also only possible via blockchain. So I don't see any other way. If it's a company, still somebody's going to run the company. So that's just not possible. And on the other hand, of course, like we're using ocean protocol technology. So this technology is also not possible to run without blockchain. So these are very important factors for us, why all of this would never have been possible without blockchain. I just read a paper recently where people were asking some years ago, 2017, how could we do something like this? Like data unions for this kind of systems. They didn't come up with an answer, but they said, well, it should be at some point possible to do something like this. And actually today we are able to do it.
I think maybe I can add to it that I think the principles that the technology is built upon matches very much the principles and the ideas of the union. So that I think is where the crowd can come together and collaboration can be facilitated. So I think there's also on that general level a mission fit.
Fantastic. And another question that we get asked a lot in our Discord community as well, but how can I get involved in a data union? How can people become part of this?
So I think there are multiple ways. And as we described from the tools, the first is as a contributor, to contribute to a union, whether with images, with data, annotating, verifying, in whatever role, but contributing and becoming part of the value share community. I think that is one key part. A second option is, of course, suggesting or driving own unions. If you're a datapreneur and you want to leverage the value and curate the data that is around you, that is another option. And I think a third way is to help curate and develop the ecosystem, help us shape it, think with us, bring up questions and challenges. Like Robin said, the people in the paper, they have a discussion, but they also have open questions. And we would like to co-develop that with the ecosystem. Not all answers are out there, but we want to do that together in the spirit of our union.
Fantastic. Well, I know that we don't have a huge audience that were here live, but I'm hoping that you're watching this, either you've enjoyed it, so you've learned something, or if you're watching the replay, that you've definitely found a way of understanding a little bit more about DataUnion and what we are currently doing. If you do have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Otherwise, on behalf of DataUnion, Robin, Mark, and myself, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching the video today. And again, if you have any questions, please do check the description down below, and you will find a link to our Discord community where you'll be able to get in touch with all of us directly and ask anything that you might want to find out more about. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.